Do you remember the 60s and 70s? Back then, we ate butter, ice cream, even fried foods in lard. And our hearts kept beating strong, our waistlines stayed slim. Then suddenly, doctors, the government and TV all told us, fat is the enemy, cut it out, switch to white bread, cereals and low-fat foods. And we listened. But what happened? Obesity skyrocketed, diabetes spread, heart disease never really went away. So maybe, just maybe, that low-fat, high-carb advice was steering us in the wrong direction. Today, I'm speaking to you not only as a doctor with over 30 years of experience, but also as a man in his 60s, someone who's seen the consequences of these nutrition myths firsthand. I want to take you back in time, uncover the biggest mistakes in dietary advice, and most importantly, show you a simpler, clearer path, a way to lose weight, keep your heart strong, and live fully at 50, 60, even 80. No calorie counting, no extreme dieting. Just learning the truth about carbs, fats, and fiber, and applying small, daily choices that truly make a difference. Are you ready? Because what I'm about to share could completely change the way you eat and the way you live. When it comes to managing weight and protecting heart health in midlife and beyond, most people still think of eating less, cutting calories, or even starving themselves. But science shows the secret isn't about eating less. It's about eating smarter. And one of the most powerful keys? Fiber. A massive Harvard study followed over 136,000 people for nearly 3 decades. The results were eye-opening. People who simply ate more fiber and non-starchy vegetables lost 4 to 6 pounds over 4 years, without strict diets, without counting calories. Why does fiber work so well? First, fiber keeps you fuller for longer. A plate of kale, cabbage, or a colourful salad fills your stomach without spiking your blood sugar. That means fewer snack cravings, the very thing that often sabotages weight after 50. Second, fiber feeds your gut microbiome, the trillions of good bacteria living inside your digestive system. These tiny helpers play a huge role in digestion, metabolism, and weight control. By eating natural fiber from leafy greens, beans, and whole grains, you're feeding the good guys that help your body burn fat more efficiently and fight chronic inflammation. Third, non-starchy vegetables like spinach, kale, broccoli, cucumbers, bell peppers are packed with nutrients but very low in calories. They provide vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants without causing weight gain. That's why many studies show that people who eat more leafy greens tend to live longer and have a lower risk of heart disease and diabetes. On the other hand, when we eat a lot of refined starches, like white bread, white rice, or French fries, our bodies quickly convert them into blood sugar. This spikes insulin, and when insulin stays high, the body shifts into fat storage mode instead of fat burning mode. That explains why so many people gain belly fat and struggle to lose weight, even when they don't feel like they're overeating. For people over 50, metabolism naturally slows down. This means every dietary mistake, especially eating too many refined carbs, turns into extra fat much faster over the years. The good news? Simply swapping some of those refined carbs for non-starchy vegetables and high-fiber foods can bring a real difference. More stable weight, a shrinking waistline, and above all, more energy. Start your meals with a plate of green salad or a bowl of vegetable soup. Always include at least 2 types of non-starchy vegetables at lunch and dinner. Gradually replace white rice, white bread, and French fries with broccoli, kale, cucumbers, or zucchini. And remember, you don't have to eat less. Just eat smarter. One of the biggest mistakes we've made over the past few decades is reducing food to nothing but numbers. Grams of carbs, grams of protein, calories. In science, this approach is called nutritionism, a reductionist way of thinking about food. Think about this. Imagine you have 2 items in front of you, a piece of grilled salmon and a packaged cookie. On the nutrition label, they might look similar in calories or even protein. But will your body react the same way? Absolutely not. Salmon provides omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and is minimally processed. A cookie, on the other hand, is full of sugar, trans fats, and preservatives. Yet under the lens of nutritionism, they could be seen as equal. This is the trap that led millions of Americans astray. We got hooked on labels shouting 0% fat, only 100 calories, low-carb snack. But when manufacturers remove fat, they often replace it with sugar or refined starch to keep it tasty. The result? We ate less fat, but ended up more overweight. To make it crystal clear, let me give you a simple example. Both humans and coal are made of carbon. But of course, you wouldn't compare a living, breathing person to a lump of coal just because they share the same element. Food is no different. You can't just look at the main nutrient and ignore how it's processed, its purity, and the compounds that come along with it. Food is not just a pile of nutrition bricks. It's a complex ecosystem. In a bunch of kale, you don't just get carbs and fiber. You also get hundreds of phytonutrients that protect your cells, fight inflammation, and act as powerful antioxidants. In a single almond, you're not only eating fat, but also vitamin E, magnesium, and countless micronutrients that modern science hasn't even fully discovered yet. So why do so many people still believe in calorie counts and macros? Because it's simple, and it's easy to measure. Governments, food manufacturers, and even some nutrition experts find it convenient to make recommendations based only on numbers. But human health is not that simple. It's not basic math. That's why for those of us over 50, it's crucial to remember, don't be fooled by labels like low fat, 0 calories, fat-free. Focus on whole, minimally processed foods, fresh vegetables, fruits, fish, meat, and nuts. Always remember, your body doesn't read nutrition labels. Your body only reacts to real food. The key isn't how many calories you eat, but what kind of foods you eat. Once you shift this mindset, you can finally escape the trap of nutritionism, the very trap that has driven millions of Americans into weight gain and chronic disease over the past 40 years. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever walked into a supermarket, spotted those flashy meal replacement shakes or bars with big labels saying healthy, low fat, complete nutrition, and thought to yourself, maybe this is exactly what I need to lose weight and get healthier? That's the trick the food industry has used to convince millions of Americans. They slap a science-based, nutritionally balanced label on powdered shakes and energy bars, then market them as a replacement for real meals. But when you look closely at the ingredient list, the truth is shocking. What's really inside most of these products? Filtered water at the top, maltodextrin, a refined starch from corn that spikes your blood sugar, white sugar, blended vegetable oils, isolated soy protein, and then a long list of artificial additives and chemicals to make it taste good. To put it bluntly, it's nothing more than a mix of sugar, cheap oils, and chemicals, packaged in a bottle and sold with a healthy label. The sad part is, many people believe it. They think drinking a low-fat shake will make them slimmer and healthier. But science shows the opposite. These ultra-processed foods are among the leading contributors to America's obesity crisis and the explosion of metabolic diseases. I still remember the 1990s, when slim fast shakes were all the rage. Many of my patients would come into the clinic excited, telling me they were replacing breakfast and lunch with 2 shakes, then eating a normal dinner, just like the ads suggested. And the results? Sure, they might lose a few pounds in the first 2-3 weeks, but then not only did the weight come back, many actually gained more. The reason is simple. Those shakes never truly satisfied the body. They didn't nourish the good bacteria in the gut, and they caused big swings in insulin. The result was intense cravings and even more fat storage. Real food, vegetables, meat, fish, eggs, nuts, gives you lasting fullness, essential nutrients, and natural balance that no magic powder can replace. A plate of kale salad, a few slices of avocado, and a bit of grilled salmon doesn't just taste great. It delivers hundreds of bioactive compounds that support your heart, brain, and immune system. So here's the takeaway. Don't be seduced by so-called meal replacement products that look convenient but are really just fancy boxes of chemicals. Prioritize real meals, even simple ones, cooked from fresh ingredients. And remember, real food doesn't need advertising. The things you see heavily marketed are often the very foods you should avoid. Your body needs nourishment, not promises from the food industry. Now, if you lived in the US during the 1980s and 1990s, you probably remember the low-fat craze. Supermarkets were packed with products labeled fat-free: cookies, yogurt, salad dressings, you name it. People believed fat was the #1 enemy, the main cause of heart disease and obesity. Government agencies, TV shows, even doctors repeated the same message: stay away from fat, especially butter, cream and red meat. But here's the irony. After decades of cutting fat, Americans did not become healthier. In fact, obesity, diabetes and heart disease skyrocketed. So what went wrong? Major studies over the last 20 years have revealed the truth. Not all fats are bad. In fact, many natural fats are profoundly good for heart health. Take the 2017 PURE study, which followed 135,000 people across 18 countries. The findings were surprising. Those who ate more natural fats, from butter, olive oil, fish, and nuts, had lower risk of heart disease and death. Meanwhile, those who ate very little fat but loaded up on refined carbs actually had higher risk of heart disease and mortality. Do you remember the so-called French paradox? The French eat butter, cheese, cream, and yet their rates of heart disease are much lower than Americans. When I was a medical student, we thought it was a mystery. But now the answer is clear. Natural fat was never the enemy. Fats from salmon, olive oil, avocado, almonds, walnuts. These are rich in unsaturated fatty acids that help reduce inflammation, raise good cholesterol, HDL, and protect blood vessels. Even natural saturated fats, like those in butter, coconut, or meat, when eaten in moderation as part of a balanced diet, do not increase heart risk the way we were once taught. The real danger comes from trans fats and highly refined industrial vegetable oils, the kind found in fried foods and packaged pastries. Those are the true silent killers of heart health. So for those of us over 50, what's the smart choice? Don't fear natural fats. Enjoy a slice of avocado, a handful of walnuts, or a drizzle of olive oil on your salad. Combine healthy fats with vegetables, like a green salad with olive oil and avocado slices. This way, you get both fiber and good fats, which help your body absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K more effectively. Cut back on refined vegetable oils, like industrial corn or soybean oil, and avoid processed foods that contain trans fats. This isn't the time for extreme dieting, it's the time for smart eating. Instead of seeing fat as the enemy, think of it as an ally that supports your heart, sharpens your memory, and keeps your energy strong. One of the biggest misunderstandings in modern nutrition is the belief, carbs are healthy, just cut out fat and you'll be fine. That's the message we heard over and over again starting in 1977. But decades later, the truth is clear. Refined carbs are the real culprits behind growing waistlines and stubborn weight gain. Harvard research, which followed more than 136,000 people for decades, revealed some shocking numbers. Eating 100 grams of potatoes daily was linked to an average weight gain of 5.7 pounds over 4 years. With white rice, weight gain was about 3.3 pounds. With refined sugar, almost 2 extra pounds. Those numbers may sound small, but remember, that's only over 4 years. Stretch that habit over 20 years, and you're looking at more than 20 extra pounds. And that's exactly how obesity has slowly crept up on millions of Americans, especially after age 40 and 50. So where's the real problem? Refined carbs, like white bread, white rice, French fries, boxed cereals, are absorbed extremely fast, causing blood sugar to spike. When blood sugar rises, insulin, the fat storage hormone, rises too. The higher your insulin, the more your body stores energy as fat instead of burning it. And when this cycle repeats itself day after day, year after year, extra pounds quietly build up around the waist, without us even realizing it. One thing I often tell my patients is this: it's not how much you eat, but what kind of food you eat. 2 slices of white bread and a bowl of lentils may contain the same number of calories, but the way your body reacts is completely different. White bread turns into sugar almost instantly, while lentils, thanks to their fiber and protein, are digested slowly, keeping you full longer and keeping insulin stable. After age 50, our metabolism slows down. We naturally lose muscle, and our ability to burn fat becomes less efficient. That means even small mistakes in our diet, an extra slice of white bread, a few French fries here and there, can add up to extra pounds over the years. So what's the solution? Cut back on refined carbs gradually. If you usually eat 2 bowls of rice, try reducing it to 1 and add more vegetables to fill you up. Make smart swaps. Replace French fries with baked sweet potatoes. Swap white bread for whole grain bread. Pair carbs with fiber and protein. When you eat carbs, combine them with vegetables or protein to slow down the sugar absorption. The key is this: you don't have to give up carbs completely. But by choosing the right carbs, less refined, more wholesome, your body will thank you with a slimmer waistline, more stable blood sugar, and a lower risk of chronic disease. Yes, after 50 may feel like the hardest time to lose weight, but it's also the perfect time to take back control simply by understanding carbs the right way. When people think about weight gain or weight loss, most of the time they immediately think of one word: calories. Eat fewer calories, you lose weight. Eat more calories, you gain weight. Sounds logical, right? But the truth is, our bodies are far more complex. One crucial factor that most people overlook is a hormone called insulin, the gatekeeper of energy in the body. Think of insulin like a key. When you eat carbs or sugar, your blood sugar rises. Immediately, your body releases insulin to unlock the door, so sugar can enter your cells. Some of that sugar is used for energy, but the rest, if there's too much, gets sent straight into your fat stores for later. That means the higher your insulin, the easier it is to store fat and the harder it is to burn it. This explains why many people gain weight even though they don't eat that many calories, because they eat too many refined foods that keep insulin levels high all the time. And it doesn't stop there. Insulin also affects hunger and fullness. When insulin spikes, it often makes blood sugar crash quickly. Then your brain sends out the signal: I'm hungry. That's why you can eat a donut, and just an hour later, your stomach growls again. It's not because you lack willpower. It's because your hormones are literally driving you to eat more. Older adults are often more sensitive to insulin. This is called insulin resistance. At this stage, insulin no longer works as effectively as it once did, forcing the body to produce more. The result? Increased belly fat, stubborn weight gain, and a much higher risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. So what can we do to keep insulin under control? Cut down on refined carbs and sugar, foods like white bread, soda, cookies, and French fries that send insulin skyrocketing. Increase fiber and protein because they help stabilize blood sugar and keep insulin release low. Eat enough natural fats from butter, olive oil, avocado, and nuts, which keep you full longer and prevent insulin spikes. Space out your meals wisely. Instead of snacking all day, give your body breaks so insulin can drop back down, allowing fat burning to switch on. I often tell my patients, insulin is like the on-off switch for fat storage. If you want your body to burn fat, you need to learn how to turn that switch off regularly. And the good news is, you don't need medication to do it. All it takes is eating the right foods in the right way. And here's the even better news. Even at 50 or 60 years old, you can still improve your insulin sensitivity. Once insulin is under control, your weight stabilizes, your belly shrinks, and your risk of chronic disease goes down. If you recall, in 1977, the US government released its first official dietary guidelines for Americans. That was a turning point, because from that moment, the eating habits of hundreds of millions of Americans shifted. And along with it, a painful paradox began. Rates of obesity and diabetes started to soar. Before 1977, Americans were already beginning to gain some weight, but the curve was still gentle. After the government pushed the message, eat less fat, eat more carbs, the obesity line shot up like a rocket. The obesity graph almost perfectly matches that timeline. Why? It's simple. When the whole nation believed fat was the enemy, People switched en masse to white bread, pasta, potatoes, boxed cereals, foods that were low-fat but also highly refined carbs. The result? Insulin stayed high, and the body stayed busy storing fat instead of burning it. I still remember the 1980s. Supermarkets packed with fat-free products, from cookies to yogurt to salad dressings. People ate these foods thinking they were protecting their hearts, but in reality, they were just loading up on cheap sugars and refined starches. And just 10 to 15 years later, we saw the consequences. A generation heavier than ever, with skyrocketing rates of heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure. This was no coincidence. Later research confirmed that refined carbs are directly linked to weight gain and belly fat. Cutting out natural fats never actually reduced heart disease risk, despite what we were told. And tragically, a misguided nutrition policy pushed millions of Americans into a cycle of chronic obesity. If you look back at American families in the 1960s, the difference is striking. Fewer obese people, fewer beer bellies, fewer cases of diabetes. Today, however, step outside and you'll see that 1 in 3 adults is obese. This isn't because we've suddenly become lazier or eat more than before. It's because misguided nutrition advice reshaped the way an entire society eats. So, what's the key takeaway? Don't let history repeat itself. Just because advice comes from the government or is printed on a package doesn't mean it's right. Return to real food, vegetables, fresh fruits, meat, fish, eggs, nuts. Don't fear natural fats, and be cautious with refined carbohydrates. We've seen enough by now to know that health doesn't come from short-lived diet trends. It comes from choosing simple, natural, whole foods, the kind our grandparents once ate. And trust me, your body will thank you for it. For decades, we've been told one message over and over again: to stay healthy, eat less fat. Government officials, doctors, television, newspapers, all in unison. But in 2010, a groundbreaking study shook the medical world. The Pure study, published in The Lancet. This study followed 130,000 people in 18 countries, ages 35 to 70 for 7.4 years. And the results were the exact opposite of what we had long believed. Eating less fat did not lower the risk of heart disease. People who ate more natural fats actually had lower rates of death and heart disease. On the other hand, eating too many carbohydrates, especially when carbs made up more than 60% of total calories, led to a significantly higher risk of death and heart disease. What does this mean? It means that for decades we've been blaming fat when the real culprit was refined carbs and excessive carbohydrates. Think back to the so-called French paradox. The French eat cheese, butter, cream, all foods once labelled as bad, yet their rates of heart disease are far lower than in America. When I was in medical school, we called it a paradox. But now, it's clear. There was never a paradox at all. Natural fats were never the enemy. The true driver of disease has been excess refined carbs, white bread, pasta, white rice, French fries, sodas. These foods spike blood sugar and insulin, leading to belly fat, insulin resistance, diabetes, and eventually heart disease. This is exactly why, after 1977, when Americans followed the advice less fat, more carbs, obesity and diabetes skyrocketed like never before. We haven't been eating more than our grandparents. We've just been eating the wrong kinds of foods. So, what lesson should we, especially those of us over 50, take away from all this? Don't fear natural fats. Butter, olive oil, salmon, walnuts, these are foods that strengthen your heart and support longevity. Be cautious with excess carbs. If more than half of your plate is starch, you're stepping into dangerous territory. Eat with balance. An ideal meal should include green vegetables, fiber, some quality protein, fish, meat or eggs, and natural fats. At age 50 or 60, what we need is not extreme dieting, but smart eating, choosing the right foods. Natural fats won't make you sick. In fact, they can be a shield that helps you age with health, clarity, and abundant energy. Remember this, it's not fat that silently harms us. It's the white bread and sugary sodas that damage the heart. My friends, we've just walked through a long journey, from decades of nutritional misunderstandings to the latest scientific evidence. All of this comes together to give us one clear message: return to real food. Simplify your meals. Greens, quality protein, natural fats. Stay away from refined carbs and industrial processed foods. You see, at 50, 60, or even 70, we don't need to chase trendy diets. What we need are simple, lasting principles to live healthy, live long, and most importantly, live joyfully with our children and grandchildren. If you found today's talk helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next important health lesson. Every week, I'll be here again, sitting down with you, sharing practical wisdom on how to eat, live, and keep your heart strong for many more years to come. Thank you for spending your time with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.